Welcome to Childcare Conversations, the podcast where early childhood leaders like you get real-world strategies, honest talk, and a whole lot of support. Whether you're running one center or many, we're here to help you lead with confidence and clarity. This episode is brought to you by our summer partner, Childcare Business Growth, your go-to solution for filling spots, increasing revenue, and scaling your childcare business without the burnout. We're proud to partner with a team that's as committed to your success as we are. Learn more at childcarebusinessgrowth.com. Now, let's get into today's conversation, one we think you're really going to love.
Okay, well, today we're going to talk with Trevor Newton, who I found, nobody knew about him before me. That's what happened. No, that's not true. Anyway, I met him at AELL, and
what is AELL? What is AELL?
Association for Early Learning Leaders. I remembered.
Nice.
And he's an amazing educator who works with kids in a variety who have a variety of needs. Is that a good way to put that?
Yeah. So in short, I'm a preschool teacher.
Right.
Yep. And that's what comes with everything you think it comes with. I'm an early child special education site director. My master's in early child special education. Bottom line though, is I love helping others. And so the way that comes out sometimes is training or speaking or teaching, working with families, working with kids. I just love people.
Well, great. Well, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us today. And, most of the folks listening are directors. And so just by some of the things that you're passionate about, if you were a director listening to this episode, what would you tell them to get their pencil and paper out to write down? Because it's going to be maybe the first of many nuggets that you're going to share over the next 20 minutes with us.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. And Carrie, I loved meeting you at ALL as well. Truly do. I love what both of you are doing. I've listened a couple of times, so I'm a little flabbergasted that I get to be here with both of you. So thank you. This is pretty cool. Okay. Pencils ready. Eyes are watching, right? Ears listening. Here we go. That your classroom teachers have the opportunity to lead their rooms, empower them to lead their rooms, lead their communities, lead the children they're in charge of, their staffs they're in charge of. Give them that opportunity and do that by encouraging and empowering them to do so.
Love that. That is so.
Yeah, the concept that the teacher is a leader, sometimes I think is just like we knew it when we were teachers in the classroom, but then you get into that leadership position, into admin, and you're like, no, you have to do your room the way I want you to do it.
Exactly.
And that does not lead to an empowered, masterful staff. You're not having a school that everybody is doing their best. They're doing your best through a walkie-talkie. And that's not as good.
Well, and then they may not really be doing their best because they're doing what you want them to do, which may not get them as excited. And we know that Trevor gets excited, and there's some topics that Trevor is very excited about. We were talking about it before we jumped on the episode. So I'm going to squirrel us right down that rabbit hole. And so
by all means.
I put all kinds of animals in there, didn't I? Squirrels, rabbit holes. I don't know. Anyway, so let's go that way.
So let's talk about your good friend, Frances Carlson. And
absolutely.
And what you guys work on together.
Yeah. So Frances Carlson, some of you should know her. She's the Michael Jordan of big body play. That's the best way to put it. She loves
what is big body play?
Love that. Big body play is when a child jumps on another child from 4 stories up onto a trampoline and just body slams them, right?
I feel like there's a write-up coming up.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, that's not big body play. Big body play is children working together to develop their social awareness, their physical awareness, and their ability to interact with others by having physical contact during play. So some would see it as rough and tumble play. Some may see it as roughhousing. Some may see it as just like a light wrestling, whatever it might be. But really, what it is, it's children finding their edges and their ability to work with other children to learn how to socialize. Think of it, I always think of it as little puppies that you first see, right? They're playing, they're nipping at each other, but they're not hurting. They're actually learning about each other. So, especially in boys, young boys as young as 2, this is how the boys are learning to socialize with each other. Because the coolest thing is when these children do this in a really natural way, they learn how to have cooperation. Because if they dominate the other child or hurt the other child, the play ends, which means the fun ends. And so they don't get an opportunity to continue that. Not because the teacher or adult or parent came in and say, no, you need to stop that. The play ended because their partner was like, this isn't fun to me anymore. Okay. And so we can transfer that up through adolescence into adulthood, and you can learn about social interaction. So if I'm all up in your face and I'm giving you that mean mug and I'm just dominating the conversation, not letting you get a word in, that child probably didn't have a good amount of big body play when they were young. They didn't learn how to socialize correctly with others in a really natural way. I think this is even more critical for those children who struggle with their words, potentially nonverbal children or children who with social anxiety or whatever it might be. They struggle to interact. So this allows for a natural way where these children can socialize in just a really age appropriate way.
All right. So
And I think, no, you can't. I have to.
Carrie
So
first, please.
my brain immediately goes to something that is not a highlight of Austin's history, but so one of the first mass murder things happened here in Austin in the 60s. And when they researched why did the guy who did the UT shooting, what made his brain different, what made his psychology different, one of the things that they found out was that he did not do big body play. He didn't do any rough and tumble play. And so he did not develop empathy the way children naturally develop empathy. He had a lack of empathy. And since I grew up in Austin and my dad was a professor at UT, like that study made a huge impact on me that kids needed to have rough and tumble play, which is what it was called in that study. And so I made a point of making sure that kids had a chance to do that. And then Bev Boss was a big influence on me, and
Oh yeah. So Carrie, to your point though, from a director's point of view, this is something that needs to be advocated for. Your teachers need space inside their classroom for big body play. This isn't a when the weather is nice on a Friday, we're going to go out and let the kids wrestle. This is a 9x11 rug or a 5x7 rug that's with safe space where these children are taught, modeled how to actually interact with each other, use safe touches and big body play, and then encouraged and monitored in a safe way. But then every now and then you're going to have some parents like, hey, this is confusing to me. Why are you allowing my children to touch other children, right? Even though as educators, we know the benefits. So the role as a director here is you need to advocate. You need to give information to parents, let them know what to expect, let them know that this is a age appropriate, very helpful thing for a child's development. And I think some parent education could be critical here for the success of big body play in your class.
Absolutely. So that was so I have 2 questions if Carrie will let me at least ask one. My turn. Okay. So my question is how much of some of this need in the classroom stems from smaller family units and everything that's kind of gone on in the last 5 years as far as our the external community that kids get to play with has gotten really small as well. So
I'd love to answer that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a really insightful question because historically, I'm going tens of thousands of years, we did grow up in big pods, villages, everyone kind of worked together or lots of people connected, but now we're not, right? So the bigger factor then is actually the makeup of the families. Sometimes dads are less involved, right? And so mothers become the caretaker or grandmother or female figure become more of a caretaker. And studies have shown that females are less likely to engage in this type of big body play. Okay. So if you have a child, would say a young boy, young girl, I will say young girl, but studies have shown that it's more beneficial for young boys. Okay. So if you have a young boy who's been raised by a female figure, it's not likely that they actually engaged in big body play at any point up until the start of their schooling, especially if they didn't have siblings. Okay. So now we have to we take that child and we have to create a situation where they still get that opportunity to engage in that very important developmentally appropriate type of play. And we can do that by constructing and having a location within our early childhood classrooms that will allow that to happen.
And it's very key also for the development of proprioception, like their understanding of where their body is in space. So it's the social
crossing the
part, but
midline.
it's also all of that. And I think we also need to help the director give some license to the teachers, because there are teachers who come in and they're like, oh my gosh, this kid's a bully. And you're like, that kid is 2.5, developmentally impossible for them to be a bully, but they have a reaction to these kids are pushing on each other during group time,
Yep.
or any of those kinds of things. And it is hard for some of our educators to understand that this is a necessary part of play, just like building with blocks is a necessary part of play. So
Carrie, I
are
think
there
that's really
other
smart.
things that we can give them as stand-ins so that they can start with the teacher feeling okay with them using big body play with objects before they feel comfortable with the children using big body play with other children?
Correct. Okay. So I really like the segue you had there, right? Because it's a stair step, it's a scaffold approach to that really true big body play, rough and tumble play, right? So number one there I heard is the teacher's desire not to get fired, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is critical. So step one, you need to have a little bit of a training or at least an advocacy type meeting where the director is informing the teachers it is okay. We're going to work through this. There's going to be some bumps, but we're going to work through this as long as we're open with our lines of communication. If bumps and bruises do happen, then we know how to document everything and we understand why it's happening. Second, oftentimes adults put very adult labels on very young children.
Yep.
I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no bullying happening with 2.5-year-olds.
No.
What you might see is you might see children with learned behaviors using ugly words or demonstrative behavior because that's all they know. Maybe that's what they're seeing at home. I would argue that those children even need it even more than the others because they need practice with the socialization. Words may not mean as much to them, but the ending of play or the cooperation of play and the joy they're having during that play is going to allow them to learn social skills, which is critical. And then the third piece there is really starting with big body movements or heavy lifting type movements, whether it's large blocks. I'm a big fan of Imagination Playground's big blue blocks. I like those, but really balls, anything slow, like a large beanbag, things we can work together with a team. Maybe it's a subtle relay race, or maybe it's an activity where that building block center becomes a huge building block center, right? And you have some really big stuff you're moving with. Maybe it's large tubes, okay? And some of these bigger stuff, they can obviously transfer outside, but it's an opportunity for them to use objects and teamwork that would then later lead into a more unstructured, but still as productive, object-less big body play.
Okay. So my
I think
other
that would
question.
help.
Who's
Go
got the
for it,
question?
Kate.
Well, my other question is, and it's because it's an issue that we hear in every classroom all across really across the country, probably even global. I just don't have those conversations globally, is the screen time aspect. So again, you've got children so little that they're not rough and tumbling with their Labrador, with their sibling, with their parent. They're doing this for hours upon hours. So they're not even using their gross motor skills in ways that they might have used literally 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And we know just from census bureaus and statistics that the family sizes are smaller, right? They're like more like 1.5 kids instead of 2.5 kids. And you don't see, family pods, like, the kids are scheduled with activities back to back to back. And they don't really just have, hey, I'm going to go ride my bike over to my friend's house, or we're all going to meet at the park. We just don't do that. Um, in elementary school, and neighborhood kids don't get together at the neighborhood park even in under fives. So again, from an education standpoint, how can, because I'm sure we've got a variety of directors listening, so we've got
Yeah.
some that are going to be like, they don't believe in the boys will be boys or big play or what, however we want to phrase that. But what if we just looked at this from the gross motor that's not happening because those kids are at home in front of technology when they're not in their program?
So perfect. So let's take it from the mindset that you don't believe that this supports socialization, which you'd be wrong. But but let's take it from that place and use, hey, I need an indoor recess type activity to get these kids moving. Fine. I will meet you where you're at, right? And then we'll grow from there. So from here, it could be as simple as getting the children up there in whole group and actually stomping around, interacting with the stories, acting out the stories, using big motions there that have to do with the story, the characterization piece. Music is an amazing way to get involved here because you can parade around the room. You can shake here and then switch hands, cross the midline, shake to the other hands, and now all of a sudden we're using some fine motor skills there. So we have to think about how we're going to develop as our bodies, because all this leads to better writing, better drawing, better reading. It starts from the inside and works out. So you have to start with the gross motor skills and those big movements and the big body movements, not to be confused with big body play, but the big movements in order to work down all the way to our wrists, thumbs, fingers, and fingertips for the fine motor skills. So it does start from the inside out. And so that's why I think you could have some cooperative games where the kids are working together using big items. And I think that's really critical. Here's some really simple ones for you, okay? Scarves, anything with scarves. We're throwing up with right hand, catching with our left. The kids love this. Any variation of that, forward, back, side, okay? Then ball toss back and forth. I'm going to get a little bit more advanced. One of my favorite ones with kids is to hold a ball above their head, maybe about a foot or so, just slightly in front. So if they miss it, it won't hit them in the head. And then drop the ball, engage their ability to catch the ball once it's dropped, right? So it's that catching motion. And
I don't have to demonstrate that, do I?
It's actually, there's going to be a video later that's going to go out of you doing this. And it's going to take the world by storm.
I can tell, Trevor, you've never even seen Carrie and I try to put in a car seat. So I'm thinking that us trying to do that would be second to the car seat viral video.
No, I can catch a ball over that I put above my head. I can catch a ball I put above my own head.
You let it, but then you have to catch it down here.
Yeah, so basically
that.
someone else drops it. But that plus marching backwards, those are hard skills, right? So if we could, we're going to do some Olympic things here. If we can march backward and catch a ball dropped overhead,
at the same time?
Oh, at the same time.
Okay.
Why not, right? But my point is, these little motions, these little movements are often overlooked because kids stand up, they walk in a straight line, they go to their spot and they sit down. They go stand up, they go to their spot and they sit down again. And so unless they're engaged in some sort of play, preferably big body play, they're not moving on angles, they're not moving side to side, they're not pushing off their knees in an athletic way whatsoever, and they're not developing their gross motor skills, their ability to catch and react and think, right? And so all of these things are critical for academic skills later on. And then go on.
Yeah, we've got to have the core strength and the eye tracking.
Yeah,
or you can't read.
Exactly. And the other thing is with big body play, let's say you're in that center and you've decided I have these cardboard bricks, the ones that are like 8 inches long. I'm going to build those up as over my head. What you're doing there is you're taking a risk. And by taking a risk, you're developing courage that you can do hard things. It falls over. Oh, that's part of the game, was pick it up. Even though you're upset, we still work hard. We persevere through this task. They build it up again, right? And so all of those things can be applied to math, reading, writing, or whatever skill you're working on within the classroom. It's that risk taking, because without risk, there's no learning.
Okay, so I love that. If you are an academic program listening to us, rewind, listen to it again, and take notes, because if you're a program that's trying to align with your pre-K states
Mm-hmm.
academic standards, and you're trying to figure out how to work and play, how to put some of these things in your curriculum, and you're struggling, go back and rewind, listen to this, share this with your staff. I mean, this is a great episode for you to share with your staff. And I know that in the show notes, Trevor's got resources for you. We talk a lot about the director bookshelf, and he's got some great books that we think we need to have on the director's bookshelf that'll be in the show notes. What would be the one last bit of advice if you're listening to if a director's listening right now and they're like, okay, I see this. We haven't done this before, but I'm interested. Carrie, Trevor, I want each one of you to answer. How would you help the director take that first step? Could be things to make sure they have on their playground, maybe things to purchase, or I know, Trevor, you mentioned some sort of training or orientation. What's next?
Yeah. Oh, Carrie, you want to go first? I don't mind.
I mean, to me, the first thing is getting your mind okay, like really understanding. And
acceptance.
so I'm going to suggest the Big Body Play book as the thing you have to buy, and maybe do a book club with the people on your staff, the leaders on your staff. And sometimes when we're talking about this, it's that naysayer that you have on your staff who's always saying, no, 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 we can't do it that way. Get them in that book club and have them read this book together. And you get together 3 or 4 times as you're reading the book to discuss, what are the problems with this? What are the things that we could incorporate? What are the parents going to resist about this? What are the parents going to love about this? So that's where I would start, because I mean, that book came out a while ago. I don't know. I read it a while ago. And I think that's a good place to start, because it's one of those seminal books, just like the block book and the mud play book. Yeah.
Right there. That was an arm's length away. I reached and grabbed that book.
Okay,
That's how
so
important it is.
if you're just listening and you're not watching the video, Trevor just reached behind him and grabbed Big Body Play book. So I know that sometimes Carrie and I will do that. We did that on a webinar a few weeks ago with another vendor, and they were talking about a book they wish everybody read. And I went, you mean this one?
Yeah. So a Big Body Play by Frances Carlson. Now she is coming out with a second edition through
So
NACCE.
should they wait, or I think they should just go ahead and get the first one and then get the second one also.
Spend $9, $15, whatever it is, go make it happen. Go do that. So I think it's critical. There's some great information there. Okay. But to your question, Kate, about what to do first.
Or now you get to do what to do second, because Carrie took care of the first.
What to do second? I have a piece inside her second edition. I'm actually really pumped about that.
Oh, okay. So really, we're going to tell everybody to get the second edition.
Yeah, get second one. I'll sign it. You send it me, I'll sign it.
Okay. Do we know when the second one's coming out, Trevor?
I believe it's going to be in 2026, like February or March, I believe.
Okay.
Is when it's coming
All right.
out.
Well, great. Well, so, and you're listening to this. And so when you're listening to this, if you haven't already signed up for NACCE, make sure you do. Trevor will be there doing a couple of workshops. Now you get to answer. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'll be at NACCE doing a Big Body Play workshop, which is super exciting. Also teaching leadership. I love to do training. So if your staff needs Big Body Play training, give me a call. But I think the most important thing, and I want to piggyback off Carrie, is that acceptance of what's going to happen. And even just that becoming more comfortable with the idea. So find a space in your room. It could be as small as 5 by 5, right? I would prefer like a 9 by 11, one of those nice lakeshore rugs, little plush, kind of nice. If you want to take it the next step up, take those interconnected foam blocks, slide them underneath the carpet, and then put the carpet on top so you have just a little bit more cushion, peace of mind. And then teach the kids, or at least have a conversation with the kids, that in this area today, we're going to practice Big Body Play. They're going to be like, what is this? So tell them what your expectations are, what a safe touch looks like. Then at the very first few minutes of your center time, as the teacher, or even as a director, go play with them. Get on your knees and show them and model them what it looks like. Then from there, once you have a few kids or even 2 or 3 kids over there, step back and just watch. You'll
Okay,
find out.
I got a question. Do
Yeah,
you got some videos that we can link in the show notes of this? I don't know, you with some 3-year-olds.
I have myself. Do I have video? I have some content. Yeah, I have some
Okay.
stuff.
I'm like, I feel like I need a video, and I'm not even I'm not even the director going, this is what we need you to do. I definitely feel like somewhere we need some little 3-minute videos.
It is really hard to find good videos of active early childhood classrooms. It is
Yeah.
really, really
All
hard.
right, so Trevor, you have an assignment.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Before
I'm gonna
this
find the
episode
neighborhood
goes
kids and go
live,
wrestle them.
you need to go find some 3-year-olds to wrestle with, because I noticed on your business card that is all the way down there at the bottom.
Yeah, we'll go make that happen. I'll go get those kids.
Wrestling tournament director. I saw that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Okay, so
I
you have to understand my
completely forgot
bias.
about that. So maybe that's why you're predisposed to think big body play is such a big deal, because you wrestled through, you said middle school, high school, and college, and then became a coach. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. All the age levels. I was a Illinois wrestling state runner-up as an 8th grader. That's my claim to fame.
My claim to fame is I was undefeated.
You wrestled, Kate?
But of course, it was in '85 when you couldn't get a boy to he wasn't coming near me to save his soul. So I just didn't wrestle anybody, but I had a winning record.
No, I am a massive advocate for females in wrestling. You have no idea. I think wrestling, females saved our sport and all the way. And
well,
you watch some of these
I
gals
mean,
over
I
there
did
who
it because
fierce.
our team didn't have anybody at that body weight, and I was the athletic trainer. And so it was entirely designed as like, I went, well, I'll do it if you don't have anybody who weighs that. And of course, when I was 5'4" and weighed 110, well,
Perfect.
most guys who weigh 110 are not 5'4", let alone they're like, I'm not touching that girl. And this was one of those things at our school, like it was a hush hush. So I laughed the first time the community that I grew up in published in the newspaper that they had a female wrestler. I was like, oh, that's funny. Everything I ever did always had to be my first initial, last name. Like it was never like nobody ever knew my name.
I love that. I mean, female wrestling is one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
incredible.
I love it. I'm like, I would walk into to weigh in and I'd be done. That's like, they were like, no.
But to Carrie, to your point, Carrie, I am an advocate of it and predisposed to it because I didn't get it when I was younger.
Oh.
I didn't start wrestling until I was in the 5th grade. Okay. And so I had anger issues. I had, a very short fuse. ADHD didn't help those things. A lack of a really productive and routine-based environment at home wasn't happening for me. Okay. And so then I started doing some research about this, the past 10, 11 years. And then it started off natural, but because I was like, I like to wrestle these kids. Hey, get over here and see. And I just started in that realm. But once I started actually doing a lot of research before it, I started doing it with my son, who is now 8. And his anger is just in the basement. It's almost non-existent, right? His ability to control emotions, his ability to regulate and just calm his body and understand how to take care of others, I think is a direct result of me as his father doing big body play with him. And so all of these things are benefits of big body play more than just indoor recess time.
Love that. Well, thank you. I think that is a great place to end it. So with that, Carrie.
Okay, guys, I know you learned some stuff today that other people need to know. So I want you to share the show with other people in your team who need to know, or maybe at the center down the road. Share this show with people who need to know. Get into the comments and leave a review on your podcast player of choice. And, let Trevor know what you've changed about the troublesome classroom at your school because of this conversation. Reach out to him, bring him in to do some professional development at your program, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. We love bringing you real talk and fresh insight from the world of early childhood education. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all of the latest episodes. And if you're planning a conference, training, or special event, Kate and Carrie would love to speak to your audience. You can learn more about their keynote sessions and workshops at kateandcarrie.com. If you learned something today, share the show and leave us a review below. We'll see you next time on Childcare Conversations.